we have this passage that focuses on the man on the middle cross, but at the same time, makes quite a few references to the other two people on the cross who are criminals. That's what it tells us in verse 32. Two other men, both criminals, were also led out with Jesus to be executed. So Jesus had been arrested, tried and beaten, and he's being led out of the city of Jerusalem to the Calvary, the place of the skull it was called. And he's being led out with two criminals. It says there as well in verse 33, when they came to the place called the skull, they crucified him there. Again, along with the criminals. One on his right and the other on his left. Isaiah, the prophet, mentioned by Christine in her prayer, he in Isaiah 53 predicted and prophesied that this would happen 700 years before it happened. When he said that the Messiah would be despised and rejected, he would experience incredible suffering and sorrow, but also that he would be counted, that he would be numbered amongst the transgressors. Now, transgressors means those who are known or recognized to have broken the law. So in some ways he's saying that the guilty, rebels, if you like, criminals. He's predicting this, that Jesus would be counted as a criminal. He would be viewed as such. In fact, you could even translate it or understand it as ungodly. The godly one, the God-man, the Holy One, being counted as if he was ungodly. Another version, the Message says, he embraced the company of the lowest of the low in his death. And Isaiah foresaw this. He foresaw that Jesus would die amongst criminals. And to those watching on, it must have looked as if he was one too. He dies in the company of two criminals and is counted, viewed, I'm sure, by many as if he was one himself. And so in his death, as in his life, he's showing us who he's come for. He's not like them, and yet he is among them. In fact, he's in the middle of them, dying with them and dying for them as we see as we go through. Now Luke's clearly making a distinction. He says these other men, he doesn't say these other criminals, he says these other men who were criminals, so he's making it clear that Jesus wasn't a criminal, yet the way he's been arrested, the way he's been put on trial, the way he's being crucified certainly suggests that others viewed him that way, and they were certainly treating him as a criminal. And it must have looked as if he was another criminal between two other criminals, one on the right, one on the left, as we read. And John, in his gospel, he says he was on the middle cross. And the one on the middle cross was the one upon whom most of the eyes were fixed to cause maximum shame and pain, that everyone's focused on them. It was reserved for the most notorious of criminals. I mean, the death itself was reserved for the most notorious of criminals, the most serious of convicts and criminals. It was the most horrific execution possible, the crucifixion. The Roman citizens, those who had Roman citizenship, they couldn't be crucified without the permission of the emperor of the whole empire. Such horrific way of killing someone. And so that was clearly only reserved for the worst of crimes and the worst of criminals. And so again, as we think about the people there watching on, it just seems like Jesus is being crucified as the worst of the worst. Yet we know the reality. We know that he was without sin. He committed no sin, 1 Peter 2 verse 22 says. And yet here we have the one who is the most innocent, who's the only person ever who's perfect, who never did anything wrong, dying the most gruesome death and receiving the most severe of punishments for the most usually severe and serious crimes. Why is that? Well, Isaiah had explained beforehand why. And he explained as well not only what would happen on the cross, but what the cross was for. He said that Jesus would bear the sins of many, taking upon himself the punishment for that sin, in order to make a way for sinners to be reconciled, forgiven, reconciled with God. He says this, we read part of the verse, Isaiah 53. For we bore the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors, rebels, lawbreakers, the guilty criminals. So it's telling us there that he is he's dying in the place of, as a substitute for, to make a connection, to make a way for people to be accepted by God and reconciled to him forever. He who never did anything wrong, he knew no sin, he became sin for us. Why? So that in him we might become the righteousness of God, that we might be viewed as righteous, as made perfect through what he has done. So Isaiah predicted it. The scriptures in the New Testament confirm it. But Jesus himself, with his very words, also reveals this to us. His own words, the words of the man on the middle cross, reveal why he came and why he went to the cross. Jesus said, Father, forgive them. Jesus came to bring forgiveness. That was his mission. That was his reason for coming and his reason for dying. So that we could be forgiven from our sins, so that we could be reconnected with God both now and forever, so we could get to heaven ultimately. And with his dying breath or his diminishing breath, what's at his heart? His heart is this, forgiveness. Father, forgive them. And so in this statement, we see the incredible compassion, and we see not only that compassion, but that passion for these people who are at the cross around him, doing all kinds of terrible things. Sorry, I'm just going to turn this off. You see, Jesus' mission, what he came to do, was to provide forgiveness of sins. And so it makes sense that one of his last statements, one of his last words is, Father, forgive them. And who is them? Well, if you look at the situation here on the cross, who is it there? The people stood watching, and the rulers even sneered at him. They said, he saved others. Let him save himself if he is God's Messiah, the chosen one. He must have included in this Father forgive them the rulers, religious rulers, the leaders who'd put him on the cross in the first place, who'd from day one, their ambition, what they aimed to do was to kill Jesus from the very start of his ministry. And now it seemed like they'd achieved their goal. As Judas betrayed Jesus into their hands, the crowd joined in the shouts to crucify him, and Pilate bowed to the pressure and handed Jesus over to be crucified. So Jesus here is speaking about these religious rulers who have been intent from the very beginning on killing him. Father, forgive them. Many of the crowd watching, they'd been also crying for his death the day before. Crucify him, they'd been shouting. And even now, some would still be insulting him and looking at him with disdain, rejecting him, the very Son of God, the Messiah. Jesus says of them, Father, forgive them. Regarding Pilate and Herod, who had the power to release him, and they knew he was innocent. They knew he was innocent. He'd done nothing wrong. And instead of releasing him, they had him beaten almost to death and then turned him over to be crucified to death. Jesus said of them, Father, forgive them. Then you got in verse 36, the soldiers. The soldiers also came up and mocked him. They offered him wine vinegar and said, if you are the king of the Jews, save yourself. Now, there's a lot more that went on with the Roman soldiers than that. The soldiers were full of mockery and cruelty. Having beaten him to within a breath of death, they then slapped his face and spat on him and pulled his beard and crunched a crown of thorns onto his head, before then driving those nails into his hands and his feet and lifting him up to die. And Jesus even includes them when he says, Father, forgive them. And what about his friends? Only some of the ladies and John were still there with Jesus to the end. The others had deserted him. Regarding them, Jesus says, Father, forgive them. Now, if this refers to and includes all of these, then surely it could include those criminals either side of him too. That's what I imagine one of the criminals on the cross began to reason. He is beside Jesus. He is in the best position to hear what Jesus is saying. And he hears this man on the middle cross talk to God as Father. And then he hears these words, Father, forgive them. He sees Jesus in interactions with his loved ones, with his mother, and he just senses, and he sees also the sign over the cross saying, this is the King of the Jews, this is the Messiah. And this criminal on the cross, he begins to realize he can surely forgive me too. There can be forgiveness for me if there can be forgiveness for them. And there is forgiveness because, well, forgiveness is not something we can earn, or it's not something we deserve. We can't buy it. It's a gift. Forgiveness is a gift. Notice in that word forgive is the word give. Forgiveness, or the word forgive, is made up of two words, for and give, and that prefix for originally means completely. Totally. This is totally a gift. This is a complete gift. There's no contribution necessary. It's a gift. So when we've done something wrong, we can't often turn back time. We can't change it. We can't make amends for it. But if the person we've wronged is generous enough and compassionate enough and able to and willing, they can give us the most precious gift, forgiveness. And Jesus is offering that to them. And even these guys on the cross, and anyone then that must be that he can forgive. God the Father, through Jesus' death on the cross, offers forgiveness to all. It's a gift. Not something we earn, not something we deserve, not something we contribute to. It's just to be received. And one of these criminals realizes that. He realizes this is up for grabs, this is possible. And he responds to Jesus' forgiveness and recognizes that he alone can provide that. But the other criminal on the cross, who hung there, verse 39, continued to hurl insults at him. Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us. He's just like Pilate or Judas or the religious leaders or the crowd or the Roman soldiers. He continues to reject Jesus. And you know what? The only way we can get to heaven is if we receive Jesus. If we receive the forgiveness he offers. Any rejection of him means that we can't. We have to basically do these three things. And this is what we see the next criminal doing in a moment. Admit we're sinners. Admit we can never get to heaven by our own efforts. Believe that Jesus is the only way and simply come to him. Or if you like, still begins with C, call on him. And that's what this other criminal does. So verse 40 to 41, the other criminal, he rebuked the other criminal. Don't you fear God, he said, since you are under the same sentence. We are punished justly, for we are getting what our deeds deserve. But this man has done nothing wrong. You see there, he admits his own sin. He deserves this punishment. In humility, he recognizes he's a sinner And he needs saving. He puts his trust firmly in Jesus Christ when he says remember me when you come into your kingdom. He'd read that sign. This is the King of the Jews. He believed it. He heard Jesus say those words, Father, forgive them. He believed it was possible for him. And so he says, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. He believed in Jesus and he came to Jesus, or he called out to Jesus. And this is the ABC, if you like, of getting into heaven. Now look at Jesus' answer. Truly, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. Look at how Jesus responds. Truly. Truly meaning this is for real. This is for sure. This is without any doubt. Truly. You can be sure of this. Certain. Jesus isn't saying, see what I can do. He's not saying, when I'm in heaven, again, ruling the universe, I'll try and remember you and get you in. No, today you will be with me in paradise. The criminal is moments from death. If you were to die today, or if Jesus was to come back today, you could go to be with Jesus like this thief criminal on the cross. Or any day of our passing from this life or his coming back. We can go and be sure of going to heaven. How? Well, as we see in this example, the same way, through believing in Jesus Christ. John 3:36 says, whoever believes in the Son has, in present tense, eternal life. But whoever rejects the Son will not see life, for God's wrath remains on them. Jesus, you see, took God's wrath. He took the punishment on the cross so that we don't have to. So that if we're believing in him, as it says there, we will go to heaven. He is, as he said, the way. He is the one who we need to get to heaven, to get to the Father. It's through him. It's not through anything else. It's not through going to church. It's not through doing good works. It's not through being religious. It's simply through receiving this incredible gift, the gift of forgiveness through Jesus' death on the cross, trusting in him for that. You know, the criminal on the cross, even if there was anything to be done, there's not, but even if there was, he had no chance to do it, did he? He's nailed to a cross. There's nothing he can do except confess with his mouth Jesus is Lord and ask for his forgiveness. That's it. He can't contribute anything to get into heaven. It's simply trusting wholly in Jesus and him alone. And this is incredible, isn't it? This is Amazing Grace. That's one of the most famous songs ever written, Amazing Grace. This is a gift. Because God knows you, he knows me, he knows all about us, he knows everything we've done, what we might have become. He knows the mess that we've ended up making of our lives at times and maybe the hurt that we've caused others. And yet he offers this, just like he does to all those people who were involved in crucifying him and even the criminals on the cross. Total forgiveness for all that we've done. All we have to do is accept that gift. Have you? Have you accepted forgiveness from God through Jesus Christ? This wonderful gift. The promise is that anyone and everyone who does believe in him receives this forgiveness of sins. Anyone and everyone who receives Jesus receives forgiveness. So this is what Easter is all about, really. Yes, Easter is remembering the cross and remembering the resurrection. And we haven't had time, have we, to talk about what happens after the cross. On the cross, Jesus dealt with sin, he dealt with death, he dealt with the devil, he dealt with darkness, he conquered it all. But to show that it was dealt with, to prove that it was all done, he rose again. And we're reminded this Easter of his death and his resurrection, but also Easter is about remembering not only that it happened, but why it happened and what it means for us today. His death brings us forgiveness of sins. All we have to do is admit that we are sinners, believe wholly and only in Jesus Christ and his death on our behalf to get us to heaven, and come to him or call on him, and he promises we will be saved. In response to the criminals, prayer, if you like, because that's all we have to do. There's a book that you've been given. Hopefully you've got one of these, and if you're at the back, I'm sure there's still some available. At the back of this book, there is a prayer which involves that same ABC. And it just says, in a prayer to God, all you have to do is A, admit that you're a sinner, B, that you now believe in Jesus, and C, just come to him. And in coming to him, you'll come to the Father and come to heaven one day. And Jesus said that to the criminal on the cross, today you will be with me in paradise. And if we put our trust in Jesus too, those words are also for us. So if we were to die tonight, or Jesus were to return, if we have put our trust in Jesus, then these words are for us. He would say to us, today you will be with me in paradise. And appearing there in heaven, if an angel asks us, how did we get there? We would say, not because I, but because he, because of Jesus. Jesus made it possible. And we could even say what the title of the sermon we're going to just hear a little bit of in a minute says. The man on the middle cross said, I can come. That is the title of a sermon by Alistair Begg, the guy who wrote this book. We're going to watch a part of that sermon, but it's mixed in with a bit of drama as well. A couple of examples of people who, like this criminal on the cross, heard the message and respond to it. So let's just watch this video for a few minutes.
Hey, it's Joe. I'll leave a message and I'll call you back.
Hey, Joe. And just want to talk. Please, son. Call me back.
So to go to the old question, if you were to die tonight and you were going to get treated to heaven, what would you say? If you answer that, and if I answer it in the first person, we've immediately gone wrong. Because I believed, because I am this. Loved ones, the only proper answer's in the third person, because he. Think about the thief on the cross. I can't wait to find that fellow one day to ask him, how did that shake out for you? Because you were cussing the guy out with your friend. You'd never been in a Bible study, you never got baptized, you didn't know a thing about church membership, and yet you made it. You made it. How did you make it? That's what the angel must have said, like, what are you doing here? Well, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Well, because I don't know. Well, excuse me, let me get my supervisor. You go get the supervisor, Ranger. So, wait, just a few questions for you. First of all, are you clear on the doctrine of justification by faith? The guy said, I've never heard of it in my life. Let's just go to the doctrine of Scripture immediately. This guy's just staring. And eventually, in frustration, he says, on what basis are you here? And he said, the man on the middle cross said, can come. Now, that is the only answer. That is the only answer. And if I don't preach the gospel to myself all day and every day, then I will find myself beginning to trust myself, trust my experience, which is part of my fallenness as a man. If I take my eyes off the cross, I can then give only lip service, while at the same time living as if my salvation depends upon me. And as soon as you go there, it will lead you either to abject despair or a horrible kind of arrogance.
Hey, it's Joe. I'll leave a message and I'll call you back.
Better hurry. The mail will be here any minute.
Dear Dad, I don't know why you haven't called or written me, but I'm writing you. Me and Mom said you did some bad things, and now you have to pay for them. But I don't think of you as a bad man or a bad dad. I still love you, and I pray for you every night. I miss you. I forgive you, Dad, and Jesus forgives you too.
Joe, Dad again. I know you're mad at me. I know I haven't been there for you. I chose work and pay over everything. Look, son, I know you're in trouble. I want to be there for you. Will you please just let me help you? Call me back. Son.
Dad,
Where are you?
I need help.
I know. I'm coming.
On what basis do you think you should be free?
On the basis of the man on the middle cross.
Excuse me?
I've been forgiven.
If you were to die tonight and you were getting entry into heaven, what would you say? On what basis are you here? The man on the middle cross said, I can come.